So for the final episode of the Fix and Flip series, if you're watching this video right now, the Honda Civic has already been sold. The amount of time that I had the Honda Civic was 6 days, and I was to sell and flip it. I did make some money on the Civic as well. If you haven't seen the previous episodes, I'll link them down in the description below, and the playlist right here, somewhere right up above the video, right there. But there's a couple things that I wanted to talk about when listing a vehicle, and then also when taking pictures of a vehicle and then selling a vehicle is all very important in the process, the presentation of selling the vehicle. So I actually have my phone right here, and I'm going to read off some of the messages that I got, because there was a lot of people that actually reached out and they were saying, wow, that's such a clean car. It looks like it's very well taken care of. Dude, I've only owned this car 6 days. Like, I really don't know the service history on the car or anything like that, but you have to kind of be confident in the vehicle, but you also don't want to tell a lie. You kind of want to be truthful, and you're kind of a small car salesman for the week when you're trying to sell that vehicle. So you're answering questions. It's always good to talk to the previous owner and see, service history and everything like that. Like, he was able to tell me, like, his dad was a mechanic, and he took care of the car, and like the timing belt was done at some point. But the Honda Civic that I bought, it was $500. If you're just catching up with the series now, I talked to my neighbor. He bought a new vehicle and was selling his old Honda Civic. That was his daily driver. So I knew it was driven every day, but I just didn't know exactly like the history of it or anything like that. So I was like kind of hesitant at first, but when he said, I just want to get rid of it, and he threw out $500, I was like, done. I'll go ahead and buy it for $500. I drove it. It had like a slight hesitation or misfire with the check engine light on. The car was filthy inside and out. And I mean, he's a dad, and he had his son in the back, so like it's understandable. But it's a good place to be when you're the buyer and the seller is just fed up with the car, and it's a great bargaining chip. But the $500 was, I already saw the dollar signs in my head, so it was kind of like I didn't really negotiate with him. He's a friend of mine. He's a neighbor, so I'm not gonna I'm not gonna do that to him and be rude. But I did have somebody come down from North Carolina and purchase the vehicle on Friday afternoon. If you're watching this, it is Sunday. So, but a couple of the messages that I got, a lot of it. So I posted it exclusively on Facebook Marketplace, and the only reason I did that is because I really haven't had any success on other apps like OfferUp or Craigslist, and I don't list cars on eBay just because I don't want to deal with shipping cars and everything like that. And typically eBay, you're capturing a worldwide audience with eBay, so I always just ship small items or car parts on eBay. It's just easier that way. But so I'll have a picture of kind of the listing with some of the pictures that I took of the car. But a lot of people ask about issues of the car and if the sunroof works. And one guy asked if it was hubcaps or wheels, which they were just hubcaps. One guy said, from the looks of it, it seems to be a very nice car in really good shape. So it immediately, with me clearing the headlights and washing and detailing the car and like wiping down the engine bay, immediately I was grabbing audience attention because of just cleaning the vehicle. So I felt pretty good about that and I kind of stand by my word that cleaning things and detailing things could be the difference between somebody, you list it for $2,400 and somebody offers you $1,500. That's the difference. But you also have to remember that there are lowballers out there, and they will just lowball the crap out of you. So I did get offers for like $1,500. So I originally began listing it at $2,500. I was somewhat confident that the car might sell at the $2,500 mark, and I began getting messages around negotiating from $2,000 to $2,400, and some people were saying they wanted to come look at it, and some people didn't follow through with that, and they weren't able to show up for it. So with that, I lowered the price. I think I started at $2,600. I lowered it to $2,500. The third day I had it, I lowered it to $2,400. I had a gentleman reach out to me from North Carolina, and he was like, I don't have a car. I'm trying to get a ride down there. And in my mind, at first, I was thinking that might be like, it sounds a little bit, I'm a little bit hesitant with that one. But he sent me his number. We actually talked on the phone. He's a really nice guy. He said, I've had one of these cars before. It looks like it's well taken care of. I'm going to come down and look at it. We agreed on the price of $2,000. Originally, we were at $2,200. And I think he was on day 5 of having the car, and I wanted it sold within a week, that he said, I will come down, pay $2,000 for the car, and take it off your hands. And the only reason I really agreed to that is because I didn't want to hold on to the car much longer, and I had received a lot of offers in and around the $2,000 range. So I was starting to take a look at what the market, what people were willing to pay for that car with that miles in decent condition, and $2,000 seemed to be right in and around what was kind of the fair market value, or fair internet value that I could get for that vehicle. So I really felt like that was the way to go for that. So he did come down on Friday evening. I got off work, I came home, and we met. He didn't even test drive the car. There was like no check engine light anymore, and the car looked really good. And he's like, I trust you, and that was that. So he paid me $2,000, and so with that, the total profit that, given that that I paid $500 for the car and someone paid me $2,000 for it, I kept right here on my phone just a screenshot of how much I had to pay for parts. And that's for spark plugs, a headlight cleaning kit, and a headlight bulb to replace because there was one out. And some people might overlook the headlight bulb thing, but it makes a huge difference in if somebody's checking all the lights. Some people are very meticulous. You never know who's going to come by your vehicle. So you want to make sure that simple things like a headlight bulb that might cost $15 and sound ridiculous, and you might not want to spend that money, that might be the money that you need to spend to really sell the car. So in my opinion, sometimes a flip can just be detailing inside and out and making sure all the lights are operating properly on the vehicle, and you might be able to mark it up for $500 to $1,000, and you might find the right buyer. And you might not. You might have to negotiate a little bit and get a price a little bit lower than what you wanted. But ultimately, I came out with about $1,453 profit off of this flip. I had the car less than 6 days, in a total about 6 days, and I really think that's not a bad time frame for a flip. Most of the flips that I've done in the past have been vehicles that I've actually daily driven for a while and then been able to clean up and mark up. I had a green Toyota Tundra that actually had almost 400,000 miles on it, but I was able to, it had chrome wheels on it that did not look good, and the tires were shot, so I actually bought factory Tundra wheels with tires on them, had the wheels changed out, and I was able to sell that truck for about $500 profit. Given the mileage, I felt like that was pretty decent. So sometimes, gauge the market that you're trying to sell in, and that can make a huge difference on what cars you want to buy and everything like that. So Facebook Marketplace has ultimately taken over the used car market, and so with that, I don't even use Craigslist anymore. Craigslist is almost dead. If you go through Craigslist right now, it is not as user-friendly as Facebook. Now, the only thing about Facebook that I absolutely hate is their auto prompt questions and answers that you can send. So I probably received, in total, 20 people reached out to me about the vehicle. 15 of them used the "is it available" option on Facebook. It drove me freaking nuts. So I just want to put out there that if you're listening to this and you click on the "is it available" button on Facebook, I don't want to answer to you because you didn't take the time to actually ask a genuine question about the vehicle, and it doesn't show me that you're interested in the vehicle. Now, in the interest of selling the vehicle quickly, I did kind of humor the people that clicked on the "is it available" button, and I just clicked the auto "yes it is" back at them, so it didn't really take any effort. But also, just in case it is an actual buyer that I could potentially miss out on, I did click on the "yes it is" auto button that Facebook puts in the messenger as well. But on top of that, I just wanted to read off of a couple things. I made a list. I actually wrote front and back on a sheet of paper. Actually, when you're going to buy a vehicle and or sell a vehicle, and the messages you might receive, I wanted to put out there some things to look out for, some things that I've seen, and then a few tips on how to make your ad a little bit better. So, some buyer beware tips that I have seen and personally witnessed over the years. People that don't put money down. If you're the buyer, don't put money down on a vehicle unless you personally know that person. I've actually lost money that way because somebody seemed a bit scammy after the fact, and I've sent them $50 to hold an item for me. I don't do that. There's always other vehicles out there. There's no reason to put money down, in my opinion, unless you're dealing with some sort of actual legitimate dealership. But private party, I would not put money down on any vehicle or part anymore. That's just kind of a buyer beware thing. When you're selling, pay attention to weird messages like "I'm out of town" or "overseas" or "working on an oil rig" or something. Money orders or having a friend send them. I've seen that a lot through emails and Facebook Messenger and on Craigslist. Craigslist ultimately if you use email or whatever, you receive long, weird emails. And somebody would be like, "I'm actually out of town. I can have a friend come and pick it up." That's a scam. Vague messages that would not be normal for another person. I actually went and unfortunately, sometimes you get on the road and you realize something might be a little bit scammy to you. But I did run into one time. I had a motorcycle I wanted to trade for a truck, and the guy was straight up until I asked for his address, and then I was kind of already headed in that direction. And I now have a rule of thumb: unless they give you an address, a physical address to meet at or go to, I'm not leaving my house and wasting my time and money unless somebody is going to give me an address. That will save you time and money. I promise you. Do not leave and head in the general direction they say they live. I've had people do that before on the way to me without me giving an address because I wasn't comfortable giving out my address to somebody, that I didn't think was legitimate. So I actually was on the way, and I was headed in the direction he was talking about, and he began giving me turn-by-turn directions when I was in his city, but would not give me address, and that is how I knew that was a scam. So look out for that. Not willing to meet or give a good location. I kind of just touched on that a little bit. Don't leave until you confirm they are leaving or on their way, or give you an address, of course. If they stop responding when you're on the way, just go home. With Facebook Messenger, when it's time, as a buyer especially, I try to go ahead and grab a phone number, something that I can communicate with them, because sometimes all of a sudden they're not reading Facebook messages anymore. If you are left on red on Facebook for more than a reasonable amount of time when you're a buyer, I would turn around and go home and don't waste any more time. Me and my buddy Zach, we went up to South Carolina to meet with a guy. He gave us a location to meet at, like a gas station or something. On the way, messages stopped being received on Facebook, and we were unable to reach him for hours, and we wasted a lot of time and money doing that, and we turned around and went home. So simple things like that. I was able to catch a scam by phone one time. I was in the market for a Datsun 240, and this is a perfect example of when someone doesn't want to give you good pictures of a vehicle. So I started messaging this guy about a Datsun. I think it was through Craigslist, and the pictures were of a 240, but it was one picture. Now, I will say, when you see only one picture and minimum description of a vehicle, there's a great chance that that vehicle might also be a scam. So look out for that, because most people, I would say 90% of the time, most people are putting multiple pictures up of one vehicle and not just one picture. And what it tells me is that they stole a picture from Google. So when you're looking at one picture and it looks like a nice vehicle or something, just beware that it might be a Google picture and they're trying to rope-a-dope you into a scam. So just be careful of that. But I began messaging him. I have the messages somewhere on my computer. I'll try to find them while we're talking. But we began texting, and it was the weirdest thing. He began saying, it's going to take me about 2 hours to walk to the shed where the car is sitting. And I thought that was really strange. So I was like, okay, message me in 2 hours whenever, maybe you're an old dude or whatever. Don't know why you can't get to it quickly, or so on and so forth. So a couple hours later, he made some excuse about he was having a hard time getting to it, and I asked for pictures of the car. I said, "Can I have some more pictures of the car?" He said, "My phone doesn't take pictures." Red flags are flying everywhere at that point in time. Everyone can take pictures. There's no reason to this day and this time that someone is not able to take a picture of a vehicle. So with that, he began making more and more excuses about, I can't get pictures. The pictures are on my cousin's phone. Oh, I did find the messages about them, actually. And I actually ended up calling him out. And he said, let's see. So he gave me a number and a VIN number. He said he got a VIN number. Now, when I ran the VIN number, it came back to a newer Nissan Murano. That is like, did you not think I was going to run the VIN or whatever? And so I have a few screenshots that said, if you want to call me, just call my brother's phone. Gave me that phone number. I'm pretty sure I never got in contact with anybody by phone. He said, when I look up the VIN, it just came back as invalid. I'm assuming it's either wrong or it's too old to find. Okay. This is a scam, straight up and down. And so, after all of that, I said, this really feels like a scam. He said, do what? I'm not a scammer, bro. I wouldn't have any reason to do that. I'll just borrow a damn phone and send you pictures and call you. I could have messed up and wrote it wrong, but that's only a possibility. He ended up sending me a picture. So he said it was a 77 Datsun 240. He ended up sending me a picture because he said somebody else at 3 o'clock was going to show up. I'm trying to remember just based on these screenshots, but he said, and I will post them in the YouTube video. You'll see these videos. So I basically said, guess that guy at 3 never showed up, huh? And he said, actually he did. He said he has to find someone with a trailer because he doesn't have something. So he sent me a picture of a gray 280Z. He said, and I said, the ad says it's a 77. That's not a 70. That's not a 77. More like an 80 or above 280. And he said, yeah, well, you're probably right. So I was able to, through text messaging, observe a scam and call out the scammer on what he was doing. And I was left on red, never spoke to him again. And that's the end of that story. But perfect example of not normal communication, unreasonable things happening, can't take pictures, can't get to the car, wrote down the VIN wrong, such and so forth, all red flags that you are probably getting scammed. So I always like to say, sometimes you don't realize it's a scam until you're already on your way. Just go home. Don't waste your time. I've had someone say they're waiting on an inheritance check or some type of other check to be cashed before they can buy the vehicle. That's a scam. I don't know why that's a scam, but it is. Avoid one-picture ads with no description. Definitely probably a scam. Too good to be true deals. And on top of that, ask for more pictures. Sometimes people use old photos to rope you in. Ask about title status. Always ask about title status. People, especially when it might be a scam, people are hesitant to tell you if it's a rebuilt title, salvage title, or so on and so forth. So that's just a few things over the years that I've experienced. Facebook seems to be the way to go. Those text messages were from Craigslist back in the day when Facebook Marketplace didn't actually exist. So I've used apps like OfferUp, and there's another app that is leaving my mind now, to sell items. And yes, those apps are okay, but I would say Facebook Marketplace has really taken over as of recently. But I've definitely been scammed over the years by people buying parts as well. I had a person that actually put $50 down on to get some parts for a LS motor that I was working on. And I was in a forum or a Facebook page, and people started posting about how this guy was a scammer and they drove a long way and he wasn't reasonable. And so I called him out and said, why are people saying this about you? And he couldn't give a reasonable answer for why people would accuse him of being a scammer. Ultimately, I asked for my money back, and he would not give it back. He said, I'm not. He's like, I've been waiting a couple days holding that money and holding that item for you, and I'm not giving your money back. So I lost $50. I walked away from it. It is what it is. I've lost money over the years. Sometimes, there's just ways that you can protect yourself and your money without giving your money out ahead of time and things like that. It's just, for me, it seems to be a better option to just wait. There's other vehicles out there. You don't have to have that vehicle. If they're not willing to work with you, I would just walk away from the deal entirely. It's just not worth it, in my opinion. It's just like, why would you worry about it? And it just seems like the scamming went from Craigslist over to Facebook, and it's just, I still receive scammy emails or messages. Like, my wife was selling furniture and other household items and was receiving scammy messages and emails, and I just didn't feel comfortable with it. I said, I don't know why this week scammers are out and about so much more than they are normally, but you can just tell from the emails. They're just weird messages about I'm overseas, or I'm out of town until this time and I can't get back. And it's just, when you observe that not normal communication that people are giving you, it's like, it doesn't even sound like a human talking. It just sounds like a robot in an email. That's when you know that there's most likely a scam in front of you, and you can get ahead of it or block them or whatever. So it's just unfortunate. I've spent a lot of time, like, I love buying and selling vehicles, but I've spent a lot of time making these mistakes and losing the money, and I just felt like I needed to share in a short podcast and video a little bit about ways that you can avoid losing your money and your time. And time is money, and all of the above. And I just felt like if I shared a little bit of that, maybe somebody can get a takeaway from it and hopefully not get scammed in the future, because there's a lot of crappy cars out there that people are trying to sell, and they will send you pictures of a vehicle that's the same one in good condition when really theirs is in their barn covered in cinder blocks and tarp, and it's really not worth your time. So it's just when people aren't willing to send you more pictures of a vehicle, whenever I have someone reach out and say, hey, can I, even if there's pictures in my ad and people are not reading my ad like they should, they said, hey, can I see some pictures? Or, hey, can I see some more pictures? I'm always willing to oblige that and go ahead and send more pictures of the vehicle. And that always seems to help. On top of that, and with that in mind, when taking pictures of your vehicle for your ad, make sure you get every angle of the outside of the car, and good interior pictures, and at least pop the hood and take one picture of the engine bay. I've seen a scam where somebody was not willing to send me a picture of the engine bay, in which it told me that it was probably in poor condition, or poorer condition than what he or she was describing to me. So I always put a picture of the engine bay normally in my ads, unless it's like a brand new vehicle, in which I'm not too worried about it. But when you're selling like a used older vehicle, it's always good to just picture of the interior, picture of the odometer, picture of the engine bay, get good pictures from the outside, and just make sure that when people are clicking through the pictures, it's almost like you're on a dealership website where they've taken 20 pictures and it's all the way around the vehicle, inside the vehicle. Maybe mention some features of the vehicle in your description if you need to. For this Honda one, I just mentioned the miles that it had. The title status is always good to put in the description. Automatic or manual transmission in the description is always good, because people do not read descriptions enough. So I always try to add in there, it's a manual transmission. I had 3 people message me about the Honda and say, I'll give you $2,500 for it. And I said, you realize it's a manual, not an auto. And they'd be like, oh shoot, I can't drive manual. I'm like, it's always good to clarify with people. You realize that it's a manual transmission and not an automatic. Most people desire automatics over manuals. It is just a fact. I enjoy flipping manual cars more because I get to go out and drive them. But if you really want to make money, most people, unless they're a sports car enthusiast or a car collector, most people want to drive an automatic because they're looking for a reliable daily driver that's easy to drive. So that's something to think about as well. So don't be afraid to send a message saying, hey, I just want to let you know that it is a manual transmission. And that way they know, and there's no, because I would have, if I had not asked that question, I would have driven to meet that person, and they would have not been able to drive manual, and I would have gone home. So time and money wasted. So I like to get ahead so that I don't, because I don't want to get down the road and somebody realize the car's a manual when they get there. That, it just, in my mind, I twitch thinking about having to go somewhere to meet someone and then they didn't read the ad entirely. Is it their fault? Yes, but it's my time, and I don't want to lose more time than I already have. So with that in mind, just think about those things. And all the lessons that I've learned, it has helped me make smart decisions when buying and observe scams when selling. And just avoid losing money and time is what it all really comes down to. So keeping those things in mind, hopefully somebody can take away from that and learn from it. That concludes today's episode of the Ratchetdavo Podcast. Part of the audio from this was for the end of the Fix and Flip series. Available on my YouTube. Just search Ratchetdavo, all one word, in the YouTube search, and you can find my channel. Go ahead and subscribe to that channel. My podcast is always available on Apple and Spotify, and episodes usually make their way over to my YouTube channel. Last week, I didn't make an episode on the podcast because I was so busy doing the Fix and Flip series. I'm trying to get ahead on videos. I do have a little one on the way, due in a few weeks. So I am trying to get ahead so that there's constant content for everyone. The channel has been growing really quick. We've already passed 300 subscribers, and I'm hoping to see 400 by the end of February. And I'm hoping to see 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2021 and join YouTube's affiliate program and just make even more content for everyone. So thank you very much for listening to this episode. I hope it helped you out observing some of the scams. There's plenty more out there, and if you have observed a scam, go to my Season 1, Episode 4 Fix and Flip series and write in the comment section about what kind of scams you have observed. So thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.